In what league? What league allows this?
They definitely making it their business to piss Caitlin off.
Very physical, and they're calling everything or they're missing.
After being mercilessly exposed for targeting Caitlin Clark, WNBA referees were just punished. The league is also in full-fledged crisis mode. What began as a series of missed calls has now descended into a major controversy. Before the league loses all credibility, supporters are pushing for improvements, and experts are calling it a shame to the sport.
Can you tell me what kind of a move that Ryan Howard's doing here to Caitlin Clark?
It was just rookie treatment, they stated. That the calls had to be earned by Caitlin Clark. However, the reality is finally coming to light and is far more repulsive than anyone could have imagined. Missed whistles are no longer the issue. Here, this concerns specific treatment, blatant favoritism, and the questioning of the integrity of a whole league.
Felt like she finally was getting her legs back under her, no pun intended.
Caitlin Clark, who is possibly the most dominant rookie in recent memory, has gone to the foul line 6 times in her previous 4 games. 6, for comparison, the majority of elite point guards in the league shoot for 2-6 free throws or more. Every game on average, despite playing the offensive for almost 40 minutes and being continuously assaulted by defenders, Caitlin seldom receives any attention. That isn't typical, that isn't arbitrary.
A lot of NFL fans are going to be like, wait a minute, you can't do this. You can't do this to us.
And the fans have taken note. Experts have revealed shocking details about how harsh this treatment is. In their analysis of a recent Fever vs. Wings game, they captured frame after frame of Clark being pushed, pulled, and even touched, and the referees were quiet, nothing, no fouls. Online, a picture of Ryan Howard literally grabbing Clark's chest during a play went viral. That isn't a form of physical protection. That's crazy, and there is still no whistle.
Greatest hits compilation of multiple fouls that never freaking got called.
The ball handler, there's a grab, there's a hold.
There's a grab, there's
There's
hold.
another grab. I mean,
There's another grab.
All of those are fouls. Every single one of them. And here,
Additionally, ESPN's Ryan Ruocco and Rebecca Lobo became so irate during that same game that they began calling fouls live on the air. It's a foul, it's a foul, it's a foul. Clark was given for straight fouls, but none of them were called, before the referees finally blew the whistle. You can tell it's serious if national commentators are defying the unwritten rule of maintaining objectivity.
And this picture that I just came across, I'm like, what are we doing?
This was a significant turning point since irate fans and YouTubers were no longer the only ones involved. On national television, the broadcast team itself was growing impatient. And that demonstrated that this is more than simply careless. Officiating, this is something more profound and intentional. Nevertheless, the league said nothing.
She came out, it ain't been that long ago, like 2 weeks ago. Refereeing's pretty good in this league.
Only a few weeks before to this controversy, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert had the audacity to declare that the league's refereeing was excellent. Powerful, Caitlin Clark is being pushed out of plays, smacked across the arms, and held to the ground. That's not strong when she's being wrestled off the ball with no repercussions. Negligence is what that is.
What league? What league allows this? Can you tell me what kind of a move that Ryan Howard's doing here to Caitlin Clark?
Things worsen. Video shows Jordan Canada physically resting Caitlin Clark on the ground to prevent her from rising and returning to the action. Nothing, no tech, no call when she is involved. The referees appear to be wearing blindfolds. And now it's being said aloud by creators, fans, and even commentators. The objective is Caitlin Clark.
How the F is someone supposed to score when this is what is being allowed to happen to Caitlin Clark on the regular?
Let's just call it that. A system failure is taking place right in front of us. Not all calls are being missed by the referees. Games are being changed by them. It was counted by ESPN's broadcast team. It was snipped by fans. YouTubers made it public. People have stopped keeping quiet.
Guys, crazy work. Crazy work.
Additionally, Caitlin Clark will be penalized if she tries to voice her opinion. That's when it gets twisted. She is being treated disrespectfully, punished, and held back. She will also be the one to pay if she speaks. Therefore, it is up to the rest of us to explain what she is unable to.
This is not okay, folks. This is not okay.
Furthermore, there are currently reports that suspensions are imminent, given that the truth has gone viral and that once the spotlight is on, there is no turning back. The WNBA may eventually have to take action now that all of the receipts have come to light and that the referees are being examined internally, particularly before the All-Star break. Will the league address this issue, or will they continue to ignore it?
The problem that a lot of us have with the referees is it's either very physical and they're calling everything, or they're missing calls. There seems to be inconsistencies in how the referees are calling certain games.
The internet exploded rather than merely reacting. The clips began to appear one after the other. Screenshots, slow motion films, and zoom-ins from all directions. It wasn't rough basketball that they displayed. People were flatly targeted and they had receipts.
How the F is this defense? Is this the WNBA or NFL? Look, hold on now. NFL.
Caitlin Clark was being blatantly grabbed across the chest during play on a live court in one of the widely shared frozen frames. And what took place? Nothing, not even a whistle, continue playing. Outrage was triggered by that image alone, and with good cause, that cannot be marketed as a defense. That isn't denying a shot, that is going too far.
They're not taking the feedback of any fans, of anyone who is actually watching the game. They are taking feedback.
And it wasn't a single instance, the footage continued to accumulate. Pulls, shoves, and knocks her off balance in one possession after another. Arms encircling her waist as if in a wrestling contest, as she tries to run the offense. Hands are all over her. These weren't gentle strokes or everyday contact. These holds were unlawful, repeated, evident, and continuously disregarded.
What kind of defense is this?
People began dissecting everything. Play-by-play discussions took over social media. Complete analyses of uncalled fouls with timestamps and arrows, as well as side-by-side photos. According to the agreement, this was no coincidence. There were more than a few missed calls. It was a pattern that kept occurring in successive games.
The league is basically saying, it can be this physical, let it be this physical.
It was brilliantly summed up in one post. A person would be led away in handcuffs if this occurred in a co-ed league. How, in fact, is that untrue? How come there is no accountability for these types of grabs and holds in professional basketball?
And the referees, I guess, didn't call this? You didn't call this. What are we doing? What are we allowing in this league? By the way,
it was made worse by the leadership's silence. The leagues had recently commended the officiating, describing it as robust and reliable. That comment deteriorated greatly since the authorities pretended that nothing was occurring as the crowd watched Caitlin get battered. There was only silence, no acknowledgement, no follow-up, and no obvious repercussions for the referees permitting it. The league's most well-known rookie in decades is being pummeled night after night without any defense.
With the WNBA is it is physical to a fault, and they even say here that their ability to be physical legally is very different. I don't get.
And rough play isn't the only thing involved. It concerns what is and is not permitted. Because there is no call made when Clark is hacked while heading to the rim. Nothing happens when she is pushed out of boundaries. Nothing happens while she is restrained and unable to even stand up to resume the performance. The sound simply vanishes. Other players receive the calls in the interim. They reach the queue, they benefit from the uncertainty. Why doesn't she, then everyone, is asking that question. Furthermore, the league is merely stoking the flames by refusing to respond.
Caitlin Clark was taking the ball up the court. She was the one who was creating a lot of these fast break buckets.
There has been a strange change in the topic of discourse rather than handling the officiating. All of a sudden, everyone is talking about how Caitlin isn't playing as well and that perhaps other players, like Paige Buckers or Angel Reese, are doing better, like she's slid off somehow.
Caitlin Clark ended the game with 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals. Now, the 5 steals really stood out to me.
Let's examine the facts, though. Despite playing fewer minutes due to injury, Caitlin has been producing numbers that most players would kill for. She ended with 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals in that decisive victory of 10,283, and she accomplished it while the officials ignored her the entire game and she was thrashed on every drive.
Clapping at her right in her face, right to her face. Caitlin got some moxie now.
In addition, she had the night's most viral moment when, following a dominant sequence, she clapped directly in her opponent's face. It was more than just flair, that was annoyance. Power was that it was a message: I'm still here, still producing, and still getting better despite everything.
By the way, this is every game that Caitlin Clark plays.
However, the sound continues. The headlines change each time she is pulled down. Another person emerges as the next great thing. However, the figures are honest, the eye test is truthful. Furthermore, no story can conceal the reality that she is currently functioning better than anyone else under pressure.
WNBA referees has a hidden agenda against Caitlin, bro. It's just simple as that.
The fact that so many people now believe this isn't random is even more alarming. That Caitlin's treatment on the court is deliberate, methodical, and that the unwillingness to call fouls is purposeful abuse rather than merely subpar officiating. Not out of partiality, but rather for her safety. People have been calling for only outside referees to officiate her games since, at this pace, it will only be a matter of time until she suffers a serious injury.
It's something that has to change, and I'm just really confused why the WNBA hasn't gotten a handle on it.
However, nothing alters. There were no warnings, no fines for careless plays, and no league public admission of the problem, only silence. The sort of quiet that is more powerful than any press conference. And it's no longer just fans. Everywhere, there is an increasing clamor. Players, analysts, and commentators have begun to highlight how weird everything feels. There is an increase in stress, the league is running out of time, and the scrutiny is increasing.
Listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches, they're not listening to the players, they're not listening to the fans, they're listening to their stakeholders.
Because it gets increasingly apparent the longer this goes on, this has evolved beyond basketball. It has to do with bias. It has to do with responsibility. Above all, it's about safeguarding the players who contribute to the game's appeal. Well, it's getting hotter now. I'm not referring to summertime Tong either. The WNBA was in full-blown crisis mode because, after weeks of calls, clips, and confusion, something finally gave out.
And the referees was effing blind.
Referees are now being examined. Yes, it appears like the league may now be paying attention, something they ought to have done weeks ago after all the missed fouls, body checks, and obvious manhandling on national television. Several references are reportedly the subject of internal investigations, according to sources. Additionally, it goes beyond simply supporters shouting on social media. ESPN's involvement is the reason behind this. You have a major issue when the league's own broadcast partners begin criticizing you.
Be real. Somebody said ref was just staring.
Before the All-Star break, there is even serious talk of suspensions. Yes, exactly. It's possible that those who were ostensibly defending the game are being benched themselves. The irony, and let's face it, poor calls aren't the only issue today. It concerns the league's integrity. Something breaks when supporters witness their favorite player being hacked to shreds without receiving a whistle. Not only the faith, but also the readiness to be present.
There's clearly a problem, and from this article, I gained and reconfirmed with myself that not much is going to change. And not much is going to change until there's literally a shift in how they view the WNBA.
Now you can sense it. There is a change in energy. Online, the tone is taut, prepared, and angry. People are threatening to stop watching entirely if the league doesn't improve the officiating. They are canceling tickets and boycotting merchandise, not because they are anti-WNBA, but rather because they adore the sport and find it intolerable that it is being treated with such contempt. Additionally, Caitlin Clark is no longer the only focus. That's what people overlook. She may be the star, but this problem has sparked a fire beneath women's basketball as a whole. Because who can't they do this to if they can do it to the most valued, most watched, and most touted rookie in the league?
The referees, are they ever going to call a foul? Y'all going to call a foul? Did you swallow your whistle?
The same thing is currently being said by athletes, supporters, and even past professionals. This must be altered. If it doesn't, this league runs the risk of losing all credibility in addition to receiving negative press. The true threat is that not a single player was hurt, but the crowd responded, "Yeah, no thanks, we're finished."
While one could argue that misconduct was taking place on the court against Caitlin Clark. Misconduct.
What comes next? The league is in control of the situation. To be honest, they're struggling. However, we don't wait till they resolve it. Because the true momentum starts at this point. People aren't simply angry, they are organizing. They are posting videos, overflowing timelines, and accusing the league of being involved in every heinous foul and missed whistle. Indeed, they are representing the cause. By now, you've most likely seen them make basketball great again shirts. Intelligent, fearless, and unrepentantly tired. It's more than simply a catchphrase, it's a declaration and a reminder that Caitlin, Clark, the fans, and this game all deserve more. Here's the problem, though. This is only the first step.
And not much is going to change until there's literally a shift in how they view the WNBA, how they view good basketball on the court. And I think that the fans are having a disconnect.
The league believed that supporters would move on if this died out. Caitlin Clark may not be the kind to vent in public, so it's obvious they don't know who they're dealing with. However, those who support her, fill arenas, break ratings records, and expose the bullshit aren't going anywhere.
They definitely making it their business to piss Caitlin off.
We no longer only watch the sports. We are keeping an eye on the commissioner, the league office, and the officials. Every action, no call, and response or lack thereof is captured, disseminated, and recalled. Now you can sense it. This is significant for the future of women's sports as well as for Clark and Indiana. Because who are you truly defending if you don't safeguard your biggest stars? There are more than a few missed calls here. There must be a reckoning. They were mistaken if they believed Caitlin Clark would remain silent during the entire ordeal.